What is up, winning team? Welcome back to our series, and we are back in the thick of it. Yes, we're talking about the transatlantic slave trade from the 15th to the 19th century, right? So now, we need to get into a lot. I thought this would be one video, but honestly, this is going to have to be its own whole section because I've just been thinking a lot about the world, trade, and slavery, because I realize all we do is war, slave, rape, repeat. War, all we do is that war and slavery and rape. That's what we do as humans. That's my conclusion. That is our hallmark of being a human and how we differ to the Lord. So that answered the question. We'll still get to that as well. The questions that we're answering, right? If God is good and God is in the world, why is there evil in the world? Why do human beings choose evil? It's just what we do. Okay, that's the answer. But nevertheless, I will still share all the information it took me to get there. And that takes us to the transatlantic slave trade. So we're going to realize there was a bit of you got to go and listen. I'm not doing all this editing. My best version of what I'm referencing is my own drawing in my own notebook. Okay? See this? It's my own sketch in my own notebook. I'm not going to edit into the video. Go and look at the map for yourself. I made a sketch in my notebook. Okay, and it is rather interesting what was going around, right? Because obviously, growing up as a black girl, I've always only heard about what was happening with the black people, especially in the United States of America, and that's what's around me. But there's a lot of trading because this is the whole world. What do we call that? I don't know what the word would be, right? But it's a whole world event. Like everybody's participating. We're all one big chain, right? And it's really clear to see at this time with the transatlantic slave trade. And that's why we're going to talk about it, because I find it fascinating. Because as I've said, right, one of the things I've been thinking about, actually, before I get into this, one of the things I've been thinking about, especially because I've been speed running Crunchyroll, and the simple reason for that is because Disney has bought it. So it is very soon to be contaminated and something I don't want to participate in, unfortunately, anymore. So I need to get through all of them, immediately. I've been looking through those, right? And those have been making me think a lot about how, realistically, how the world actually is. This is why I got to give it to the writers of a lot of these animes. And I watch a lot of the ones that people, not like the ones everybody's watching, but I also watch those as well. But just these ones by people, and they take actual historical events and they just put a spin on the narrative. It's really interesting, right? And so I've been thinking a lot that, as a world, God created us so that we could all live in harmony, as a world even, right? As in all of us have something-ish to offer, and all of us have, things we can do, because everybody has their own things here. We're going to see in the transatlantic slave trade that they had to offer. Right. And so we decide how we want to go about doing that. We can decide if we're all just going to be fair and just everybody should just focus on their country first and focusing on trade agreements and find what you have and then just capitalize off of that for the sake of the country. But don't be a scumbag about it. And the thing is, there's always a scumbag, and the scumbag is always a loser of some sort. But I'm not going to get into that right now. The thing is, it's always this thing in the world, right, that we do where we can't live in harmony. It's impossible. That's been one of the most humbling realizations I've had to have in the last couple of weeks or maybe months. We just can't live in harmony because there's just always going to be somebody or something that's going to ruin this and is going to take advantage. Because as soon as anybody in the chain is trying to take advantage for whatever reason, that ruins the whole game, right? That ruins the whole game. There has to be boundaries. That's why my biggest issue in the transatlantic slave trade is that why were there Black African people selling Black African people? That's the only thing I want to know the answer to. Can I be really honest? Can I just, is this a safe space? Of course it's not, because this is the world I'm talking about, right? Why was that happening? Because you know what? That was the most scumbaggery move. And I believe it. And I'll tell you why I believe it happened. Because I lived in Africa, right? So if you didn't know, no, I was not born there. I was indeed born in the United States of America. Don't ask. Long story, right? And I did live in Zimbabwe. for about 2 years, nearly 2 years, when I was like 6 or until I was about 7. And I actually delayed the move. You know why? Because I broke my leg. I broke my leg, guys. I literally broke my leg at like 7. I'm always getting injured. Like, it's just so and it's always on some nonsense, right? Anyway, so we moved, and I remember when we were like living there. By the way, it was amazing. Can I just say, the space, the food, the nutrients, the everything was just such a vibe. I remember like at school, this was the coolest thing ever, right? It was somebody in the class's birthday. Tell me why. I'm coming in the classroom. There's music, there's cake, people bringing crates of Coca-Cola. What, for a birthday? For a birthday at school. This was so cool. I was like, this is so cool. I remember like one time we went on a freaking, what we were on horseback, right? This was just a random date. I don't even think this was like any kind of celebration. We went on a horseback safari, guys. I was on the horse with like the trainer dude, right? And we're walking, and these are the plains of Africa, and the animals are just out in the wild. They're just out in the wild, these big animals, and it's just beautiful. Like, it's beautiful. The earth itself is beautiful. The sky is beautiful. The animals, the vibe. Time moves a little bit more slowly, right? A second here is like 1.3 seconds. You know what I mean? In Africa. That's what it feels like. That's why it's so chill vibes, right? Now, here's the thing. In all the midst of all of this, I'm out living out life on horseback safaris, and there was all freaking Coca-Cola for the freaking birthday party, the nice crispy. And now people have discovered about how Coca-Cola tastes in like places like Africa, places like other places in the world. Like, wait a minute. And this is where I'm like, you people in this country need to recognize your governments are literally lying to you. Like, but that's not the point of this part of what I'm saying. We actually had like house staff, right? So we had a gardener, right? Shout outs to him. And we also had a maid, right? Yeah. So I also, that was something that was used to rub me a little bit the wrong way, because I'd always be thinking, because they would like live in the house, right? It'd be like a young girl, right? It'd be like someone like me, like would be doing something like this. But like a young girl, and like she stays in the house, like she cleans the house and she does certain things. She gets paid and everything, and like everyth's there. But I always used to think, but that's so sad. Like I always used to think, but that's so sad to be away from like your own family, like living in another completely different life, whatever. But whatever. There's a part of me that recognizes is this how we've progressed since then? Like, is this where we're at still? Because I think that's kind of insane, especially to call them a maid. And especially because I've discovered that within Africa itself, so this is something that, I think it was my dad said to me once upon a time, actually. And he was telling me about how in Africa there is a hierarchy, of what family you've been born into. There's like a hierarchy, which also goes into the totems, guys. This is the demonic worshippers of it all, that are all associated with animals. And of course, my family has a totem as well, apparently. I'm not going to say what creature it is, but they're all creatures in the jungle. I'm not going to say, but anyway. And well, are they even in the jungle? Come to think of it, because nowadays I've been looking into history, and there's some of these things like myths about certain things, because especially like where animals are located, that's another interesting thing to learn and think about. Because like I said, every country needs to think about what it has to bring to the table, like in the world, right? And so, so again, when I was like over there, do you think in any way, shape and form, I would be out at nighttime as a young girl? You are having a laugh. You're having a laugh. It'd be the dumbest behavior ever in my life, because there are animals there. Like I remember we would be at my uncle's place, like looking at because his house was like on a mountain, right? This house that he had. And we'd be looking out, and there's the friggin' monkeys just there, just running up and down around, and we're just there. Like, it's so friggin' cool, guys. It's so cool, right? But at the same time, like I said, there's people living in another different reality, right? In the same place. And it's like, why is that? And it's like, something, I don't know. I can I can believe that they were selling African people. I believe it. The Africans were selling Africans. So that for me, like I said, is the biggest issue I have because of being African myself. Okay, so everybody's biggest issue is going to be your own people's biggest issue. And that's how it should be, because then everybody would mind their damn business. The thing is, people are not going to mind their business when they feel like they can come and get something from you. And again, we can do this the nice way. We can do this the respectful, honorable way, or we can play the game. So that takes us to the transatlantic slave trade right now. That's where that takes us. Yeah, guys, I know I've lived the life. That's what I'm saying. I was there living the life. I've lived the life. So I know I can sniff losing when I see it, guys. I really can. So here we go. North America. We've got North America. We've got UK, Europe, Africa, South America, West Indies. Okay. So what was going down? Like, this is something I want to know. Actually, never mind. I've already answered my own question. I've just realized it all makes perfect sense now. Why the other countries were not okay? Because let's say what was going down in Australia, and then it hit me. This is interesting. I never had this take on all of this before. So here we go. We're looking at North America. And so who's sending what where and who's sending what where? So the UK is sending to the North America manufactured goods, luxuries. Manufactured goods, luxuries. I want you guys to pay attention to the types of things. And they're sending to Africa. What the hell does that say? It says guns. I think that's supposed to be clothes. Iron, beer. Right? Iron and beer. Okay, this is interesting. Right? And who else are they sending anything to? Are they sending anything to anybody else? Not according to this particular diagram. So that's interesting, because what they're getting in return from Africa is gold, ivory, spices, and hardwoods. And from North America, whale oil, lumber, furs, rice, silk, tobacco. Okay, this is all quite interesting, right? To see how the world developed, because one of those things that I think is really interesting about the world is how we all do certain things the exact same way now, and that just rubs me the wrong way. Like, wherever you go to the world, we all go to a supermarket. Like, why? This is why. Like, why do we all go to a supermarket? In every language, in every country, in everything, there's a supermarket, there's this. Why do we do that? And this is why, when it sticks out to me how the UK is all having its own supermarkets, right? That are not in Europe, they're not in America, right? But there's a European Union. You go to the rest of the European Union. I'm at the same shops. I'm remembering the shops from the last time I went to a European country. And I've been to a few European countries. I forget that I've been to the Netherlands. I've been to Spain. I've been to, where else have I been? But I always forget that I've been to the Netherlands, right? I have an uncle who lives there. That's crazy. My family's all over the world, yeah, by the way, guys. They're everywhere you go. The other day, somebody died, yeah, and I was watching, oh, guys, I shouldn't laugh about this, right? But I had to do this for my entertainment. So somebody of the family had passed away, right? And there was a Zoom funeral. I went because it was all the old people, like the older people in my family, on one side of my family, right? And I was crying of laughter at this, right? Anyways, why did I bring that up? Hold on a minute. I remember why I was saying this now. Sorry, I got so distracted. Because in this phone call, yeah, I now discover that there's about another 8 American states I didn't know I had family in. Why have I got family in 10 American states, 11? Why is that? That's, and do you know what I mean? And all over the world. Why have I got family in Europe, in Norway, in Australia? What the hell? But it's fascinating. That's what I'm saying. I've been to places and I've seen things, and it's just certain things stick out to me. So why do we all have the same supermarkets? Why do we all why? It's these here events that led to what we've established as modern living, which goes back to what I told you guys is my whole problem with why I hated geography at school, right? Because it always be like the more economically developed and the least economically developed. I'm like, who gets to decide what that means? Yeah, this is where this whole thing is headed. This is why this is a whole different take I'm having at the minute on this transatlantic slave trade. Let's talk a little bit more about what was going on, right? We've got from South America going to the UK, it looks like, sugar, molasses, wood. Africa, selling out. What are they sending out? They're sending out to the West Indies, enslaved people. They're sending out, yeah, well, please tell me that wasn't the only thing we were sending out, because that's no, it wasn't, I'm just kidding. North America sending in rum, iron, gunpowder, tools. So here's the thing that sticks out to me about this, yeah? We gained weapons from other countries, right? We weren't really on the weapons, which makes sense to me, because even me, I don't like the idea of fighting with I love weapons. You guys know it's my favorite part in the anime is hearing all the warfare weapons all at the same time, simultaneously. That's like literally my favorite song, right? But the thing is, I just don't like to, if I was to get in a fight, I want to fight with my bare hands. I just think a weapon, it's just giving losing energy. I can't lie. It reminds me of like Attack on Titan and all these animes I'm watching. Because I'm realizing it's just crazy to have to develop weapons is all I'm saying. I've said it. I've said what I needed to say. It's just crazy. It's crazy work. Because we could just sit with this with our bare fists. Why not? Why we not want to fight? Why are we not just going to have a good old-fashioned? Why don't we do that? Why must we? Why must we? And I can say this as well because, you know, my dream PhD, one of them was to have too many dream PhDs. That's why I couldn't even pick one for the life of me. Because how am I going to give up the development with Rolls-Royce on the Rolls-Royce jet engine for nuclear engineering? Because I would have loved to work with the freaking nuclear weapons. Oh my gosh, that would have been the dream, you guys. That would have been the dream. What do you mean? I get to work on those freaking, I get to see how they work in 4K. I get to push a jet engine to its limits. And just be there like in some special lab. That sounds amazing. So yeah, this is why I've thought a lot about these things, because I'm thinking about who's doing what and who's doing where and who's doing what. Because why are we making so many things like in these Western countries? But anywho, I have thoughts on all of this. That's what this whole series is about. So from the West Indies, going to North America, they're sending slaves, sugar, molasses. Interesting. I remember we used to like eat sugarcane. Oh my gosh, that sweetness is amazing. Like the actual juices from the sugarcane, you guys. This is why I think I'm not a sweet tooth. Some of the things I realize I've developed is because I've just had better. Like I can't do these sugars. Like it's just. Have you ever had a sugarcane and the juice that comes out of it? Oh my gosh, you guys. Oh my gosh. But anyway, North America sending fish, flour, livestock to the West Indies. What does that say? I don't know what that says. Okay. That's pretty much most of it. Yeah. So it's interesting what's being sent where and what's being done where. That's what I'm trying to say, right? Because it's like everybody had something to gain. Everybody had something to lose. But not just that, how those people were conducting themselves within their own countries is also something to think about. It's also very much something to think about. And I think, unfortunately for the West, what you guys don't seem to realize is that those of your people of yesteryear, right, your heroes, yeah, they turned you into the slaves. Like, this is the thing. This is the thing about it is, and this is why they lie. This is why they lie about everything to you people. They lie about what the rest of the world is like. They lie about whether the myths and legends are real. They lie about it. Because one thing I kept realizing is that the people in history of the West are the ones who went and explored, those who went across the seas. Circling back in the previous video, I was talking about the Whore of Babylon. The Whore of Babylon. Hold on, I'm going to get the scripture. Shout out to me of yesterday video, by the way, who left my Bible on the page. It's almost as if I knew I would have to read it again. We're in the book of Revelation 17, okay? Revelations 17. One of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls came and said to me, "Come, I show you the punishment of the great prostitute who sits by many waters. With her the kings of the earth," not the kings of Israel, right? So the Bible is very intentional about these words here. "The kings of the earth committed adultery, and inhabitants of the earth were intoxicated with the wine of her adulteries. The angel carried me away into a desert." So the kings of the earth, the very world we're living in, right? So even the world, this is an enemy of everyone. That's the thing about it. This is the enemy of everyone. Hear me out where I'm going with this, right? Then the angel carried me away in the spirit into a desert. There I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast that was covered with blasphemous names and had 7 heads and 10 horns. The woman was dressed in purple and scarlet. I had a vision to do those 2 colors, and I still to this day don't know what that dream was telling me. But when I tell you who was in it, because there was a world leader. I'm gonna have to look into that. Okay. And was glittering with gold, precious stones and pearls. She held a golden cup in her hand filled with abominable things and the filth of her adulteries. Notice she's adulterous. We've gone past the point of just being promiscuous. We're here in adulteries in the plural. What kind of a what are we talking about? The name written on her forehead was a mystery: Babylon the Great, the mother of the prostitutes and the abominations of the earth, right? And the abominations of the earth. Now, I want us to circle back to something that was said about her at the very beginning. One of the 7 angels who had the 7 bowls came and said to me, "Come, I will show you the punishment of the great prostitute who sits by many" what? Waters. Yep. Right where everybody's all traveling across, right here in this transatlantic slave trade. And you see how there's a gap in the middle here. You see, this is the seas. This is the waters. So I'm just thinking, I don't know if this is going to make sense to you guys, what I'm talking about. I don't know if I sound like an absolute Looney Tune. Probably a little bit of both. But this is what I'm taking away from this. So this is what the world is doing. Both kingdoms are working simultaneously. Can you see that? Both sides of the kingdom's behavior. Within the church is having a whale of a time living like the world. The leaders are taken advantage of, right? That's where the devil is. That's where whatever. And Jezebel's also destroying the world on the outside as well. That same world you want to be in across the waters. And she's finding her people. Because one thing I noticed, about people in life, like, some people are genuinely afraid of a fair fight, like, because they're that afraid of losing. And it's like, those are the people who become losers and do loser behavior. Like, those ones who do loser behavior because, like, you are scared of, like, you can't handle the heat. Get out of the kitchen. Get out of the kitchen. Get out of the kitchen. And I might even make a video about that, because I was going to make an entire video talking about Gordon Ramsay and why I'm surprised nobody's called this man autistic. And I have a theory. I have a very specific theory on that. So I might just, you know what? We're all just here, aren't we? We're all just living. We're all just using free will. I'm going to use my free will. I'll see you guys in the next video. And I'm going to tell you about this because I can. I've basically summed up all of this about the transatlantic slave trade in one video. Well, I have details because I have thoughts about every single country. I've only really talked about where I originally come from because I understand the world I'm talking to, right? And, you know, spare myself the headache of offending everybody. I'll just talk about myself and where I come from, and we'll use that as the example of the day. But yeah, that's basically what I wanted to have to say. It's just interesting, you know, all these things, putting all the pieces together is rather interesting. But yeah, anyways, let's talk about Gordon Ramsay, because I have a theory about this, and it goes back to the lie that I'm saying, like, you guys in the West, you're being lied to. Like, this is, like, I guess what I'm trying to tell you guys today. That's what I was thinking about before I came on here. You guys in the West are being lied to. But we'll go on to Gordon Ramsay. For those of you who keep up with this flow of thought that I go through, You guys are literally the real MVPs. Like, can I just tell you, you are the real MVPs of my life, because thank God somebody can understand, okay? I am so grateful to have you guys. I'm so grateful I can talk to people that get it, okay? That is the biggest blessing ever, okay? So anyways, let's go and talk about Gordon Ramsay, because I'm trying to get you guys to understand they're lying to you in the West. If life's a game, pay to win. God bless you all. God loves you. I love you. And I'll see you in my next one.